A warm welcome back to the Forensics Detailing channel. It's 2026. We've got 5 market leading hand polishes, glazes, all-in-ones, whatever you want to call them. We're going to be putting through a series of tests in this video to try and find out which one is market leading and the best. Very difficult to do. Which one is it? Stay tuned to find out. A warm welcome back to the Forensics Detailing channel. As always, before we get started, don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you want to see product reviews and comparisons and all that sort of stuff. Now, before we get started, rather than just zoom to the end and pick the product with the highest points and assume that's best, there are some functional differences between all of these products which will shape which one might be the right product for you. So you must listen to this first bit, which is very important, which is how we describe these products. So first of all, essentially, these are all products that the mass market and people that, you know, like their cars to look good would use, as opposed to professional detailers that might use pure abrasives and cutting compounds and machine polishers. So they're more a mass market paintwork improvement tools. Now, the first product, Autoglym Super Resin Polish, you'll have probably heard of this product. To understand what it does, you need to understand what's in it. It's a solvent-based formulation that contains fine abrasives, fillers, dissolved resins that feel like haze and scratches that may be silicone based, and protective components like organic wax, which also set up on the panel and help provide protection. So this is almost in the category of an all-in-one hand polish product. You can use it by machine, although Autoglym instructions guide you towards using it by hand, which is primarily what it's for. You can also, after you've applied this product and it's cured off and you buffed it, you can top it with a solvent-based paste wax like their ultra high definition wax, or their solvent-based liquid wax, the extra gloss protection. So that's how they recommend it. So it has abrasive function and it has fillers and it has protective elements. So it does a bit of everything, that product, which is important. Some of them don't do everything. The next one is the Bilt Hamber cleanser fluid, okay, and it's been decanted, so apologies for the bottle. Now this is slightly different. This is a solvent-based primer glaze, so it has resins in it, which I don't know what the composition of the resins are, but it also has a good amount of abrasive function within it. So when you work this over the surface, again by hand, looking at the instructions, the abrasive function does some physical improvements and the resins pack out the surface. It doesn't appear that this product offers any protective materials like organic paste waxes or curing bonding sealants within it. It's more a primer glaze that you would improve the paintwork with and then go on to top with one of the Bilt Hamber protective products like Hydra Wax or Double Speed or Finny Wax. So this product benefits more from topping, is more of a primer glaze than an all-in-one. Subtle differences, understand those differences are very important. Now we have some quite significant differences. This is the new Autoglym Paint Reviver product. Again, it's a solvent-based product that does not contain any waxes to give it any protection qualities, but uses a resin, which again may be silicone-based, no abrasive material to give you any improvement through abrasive particles. So it's a pure filler, and the material which it fills also offers 3 months protection, so you could use it as a standalone product. This product can be topped with water-based products like their rapid ceramic spray and aqua wax, but not their solvent-based waxes. So that's a very important distinction. So if you're a UHD wax user or an extra gloss protection user, then this is a less suitable primer for you, which is a very important distinction. The lack of abrasive function means you lose the ability to tidy up things that benefit from that physical abrasion. So you're completely reliant on the filling effect. So it's more a paintwork filler. The next product, the American Poorboys Blackhole. This is a show glaze that contains glazing materials and resins and wax, I believe, but I don't think it contains, to my knowledge, any abrasive material. So it's more a pure filler. The other considerations with this is that it's really for black, maybe red, maybe darker blues, but it's for dark coloured cars all the way up to red. Essentially, you can use it on lighter coloured cars, but then you're going a little bit off piste with it. You can top this product as well, but it does offer some protective characteristics that we'll explore. The key thing to take away is non-abrasive and for darker colours. The third product, Chemical Guys Butter Wet Wax. Now again, this is an emulsion, but it's a water-based and solvent emulsion rather than a pure solvent. This, I think, is a water and solvent emulsion as well. So a water-based and solvent emulsion. It does seem to contain abrasive material to some extent, maybe silicates and stuff like that. So you get some abrasive scrub with it. It contains carnauba wax, which we know is a very glossy material and gives a nice wet shine, but it also contains resins that can fill the paintwork to a certain extent. Some people will argue that this is less of a filler product and more of a liquid wax. I would argue it is actually more of a true all-in-one. This product has no cure, it can go on and off, but this product also talks about you can use it when the car is wet, which is very untypical of emulsions, because if it's a water-based emulsion, it will thin and possibly run. So I would suggest you apply it dry. There we have covered the fundamental differences between those products. Now we'll get stuck into the mechanical testing. The first thing we've compared in this product, as always, is the price, and you can see a ranking of the prices here. They've all been scaled to the nearest 500ml. These are all in 500ml. These come in 473, so they've just been scaled up. So it's an absolute pound per pound comparison. The prices can vary where you get them from. I tend to use Halfords or reliable online distributors that are generally sensible prices, like Interdetailing or Clean Your Car, to get a good market price if they're not available for Halfords. The best value in this particular product is the Autoglym Super Resin Polish, which costs a fantastic £13.50 for 500ml, which is a significant price improvement over the rest of the field, maybe even 30–40%, even half the price nearly of the most expensive. The next product in best value for money is the Autoglym Paint Reviver. I need to swap the ordering of those around so they match the columns. Is the Autoglym Paint Reviver at £16.99 for 500ml. After that, it is the Poorboys Blackhole at £17.91 for 500ml, which I feel is a really good price point. You can shop around and maybe even get that down a little bit more. I feel that's a good price point for an American brand that has to be imported into the UK, where we often see a little extra margin when products have to be exported and all that sort of stuff. The next best value for money is the Bilt Hamber cleanser fluid, which costs £18.95, but it's still, you could argue it's the second dearest in this. There is a caveat that when you buy this, you get a foam applicator and a microfiber cloth with it, which could have the equivalent value of about £3 or £4. But I'm not factoring that in this comparison because the others don't offer it, but I will mention it because those things cost money. So the second most dearest. The most expensive product in this test is the Chemical Guys Butter Wet Wax, which cost around £24.99. I don't know off the top of my head if I've scaled that actually. Let me just double check. We're doing this live. Yes, so it's actually £26.41 for 500ml. So that's 473ml price. Sorry, that's a little bit sloppy, but it doesn't really affect it. So £26.41, that's been scaled to 500ml. There's our price ranking. The winner gets 5 points, the loser gets 1 point. Very mechanical, that. Okay, the next thing is gloss readings, surface appearance. So what we have done is we've taken a prepped test panel, we've prepped it by cleaning it, polishing it with Rupes yellow fine wool to try and simulate a level of hazing that where these products can cause a good surface improvement, with a coarse Rupes blue compound, which is not going to give us a perfect flawless finish. you know, because it's a heavy compound. So it's an ideal starting point for these. It was actually an aggressive starting point and quite an inconsistent starting point. It's a complicated subject matter. We'll just go through the results. On this left side, we've got the gloss increment and we've got the haze reduction. So reduction in haze is a tick, an increase in haze is a negative, an increase in gloss is a positive. You get the idea. There's the overall deltas of gloss and haze. So the product which improved the panel the most under the gonophotometer, so we after the panel's been prepped and degreased, panel wiped, we apply them according to instructions. We wait about an hour before we take the gloss readings. So it simulates the gloss appearance you'd get about an hour after application. With an overall delta of gloss and haze increment of 5.5 units, the Chemical Guys product improved the gonophotometer readings the most. After that, the Poorboys Blackhole with an overall delta of 4.7 was next, so a good increment in gloss and a good reduction in haze. The next one was the Autoglym Super Resin Polish. Just a small increment of gloss on that, but increment of haze giving 1.4. All these three are down on the deltas on these two American products, but it's interesting. There's complexity around that. Then next, the Autoglym Reviver with actually a really good showing on the gloss, but it didn't improve haze, actually. It made the haze slightly worse. And then over with the Bilt Hamber product, an overall delta of 1.1, a massive increment on the gloss, but an increment on the haze. And this product was positioned in the middle of the panel, which you're thinking, why is that relevant? Where there's a crossover of two sets and there was higher haze in that middle panel and more inconsistency. So there's a lot of inaccuracies around gloss testing that I talked about in a live video that you'll be able to see on the Unplugged channel, where you can see me prepping the panel and talking about this and taking those pre-readings. So, but the results are the results. We have to crunch them. So that gets 1 mark. So there's our increments on technical gonophotometer pre and post improvements. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Next up, we sanity check that by taking the panel outside in the sunshine and looking at it and just simply ranking which segments, which strips of the panel look the best, look the most improved. Dark on a black panel, but if it was a red panel or a silver panel, the most clarity that your eyeballs see there. So which one looks the best? For me, it was close, but the one that looked consistently dark the best was the Autoglym Super Resin Polish, very closely followed by the Poorboys Blackhole. And you move around at different angles and you can see different things, and it's very difficult. After that, the Autoglym Reviver. For me, at certain angles, it looked like the darkening effect was great, but there's still areas that were slightly patchy. Again, could that be a result of inconsistent prep affecting that? Possible, but you have to just try and rank it. After that, the Bilt Hamber Cleanser Fluid wasn't far behind with a good darkening effect, but still some areas that were a little bit less inconsistent. And the Chemical Guys, the one that's not advertised primarily as a filler glaze, but does feel reasonably well, was the panel strip that wasn't quite the darkest and improved to my eyes, even though ironically the gonophotometer says from a gloss and haze perspective, which are different, measuring different things to what I'm looking at, it was the best. So there's our mechanical crunching or eyeball results. The next thing is the slickness of these panels. Once the product has set, been wiped off, it's hazed, you wipe them, you wait about an hour and then test the slickness simply by using a flat panel and a tilt table test. This is representative of the friction against microfiber, really, and that can be translate into a silkier buff. And the results for this one were quite easy. The Bilt Hamber Cleanser Polish was the slickest that you could feel with your fingers, and the things slid down the quickest. When you use this product, you can feel that wipe down slickness on it as well. Very slidey, smooth finish, and it does even mention that in its product claims. So yeah, there's whatever the resins are in this, because wax isn't especially slidey and there may not be any wax in it, but those resins are very silky, which makes me lean towards thinking they're acrylic, but I can often get that wrong. Next up, Surprisingly to me was the Chemical Guys Butter Wet Wax, which feels okay to wipe off the panel, but doesn't feel especially smooth. Part of the problem when you wipe wet butter wax is it doesn't require a dry cure, so it's more wiping a wet emulsion, which is a wetter affair where it's harder to feel that slickness. But under tilt table testing, it came second. After that, the Poorboys Blackhole came third with the tilt table slipping. I've put an asterisk there because when you actually apply these to your car, the Poorboys Blackhole has an incredible silky buff. It's a mixture of silkiness under the microfiber, but an ease of removing the residues. So I would have almost thought that would be the slickest out of all of these, but it isn't. The material itself, and if you think about it, mainly wax and whatever other resin, just doesn't match that surface friction. After that, the Autoglym Reviver, which feels like a really slick, slidey buff, and if it's silicone based, that would make sense, but it just doesn't have that tilt table performance. And then in last place on the slickness is the Autoglym Super Resin Polish. Do not think that because it has the most amount of friction that it has a difficult buff or a sort of tacky filter or anything like that. No, not at all. When you work out on the polish, when you work the polish out on a panel and it hazes, it wipes really nice, and the panel has a really nice polished feel to it. But yeah, it doesn't have that glide. When you feel that nice light glide, those are the ones that are really slick, and you can notice it with that. So that's been rewarded there with 5 marks, and that unfortunately has got 1, but it doesn't mean it's bad. The next thing is, after 24 hours, all of these materials have had a chance to cure out on the panel, and we sprinkle them in water, low pressure water, and try and measure repellency, and this is reasonably accurate. Now, some of these products are not like the Bilt Hamber, but the Bilt Hamber primarily isn't designed to be your final protection product, so you might not be too interested in its hydrophobicity, but we've measured it anyway because the rest of them are more AIOs. The least repellent out of all of these is the Chemical Guys Butter Wet Wax Emulsion. It's okay, it's a bit of repellency, it's nothing to write home about. After that, the Poorboys Blackhole, again, it's okay, but it's not by modern repellent standards, and some of those spray waxes which give you the instant water flick. No, it doesn't do that, it just has a bit of repellency. You wouldn't buy either of these products if you're a bead monster or a hydrophobe, as I often say. The Bilt Hamber, ironically, the cleanser polish, seems somewhere in the middle where it's got a good amount of repellency. The water doesn't want to stick to it too much, but again, it's not a flicker. It's not offering hydrophobic performance in its product claims, and the material probably is just hydrophobic, but it doesn't have like added hydrophobic polymers or things to make it bead especially. So it's somewhere in the middle. After that, again, the Autoglym Reviver, ironically, I don't think it's that repellent either, but it's ahead of all of these when you cross compare them. So the silicons in it offer some good water repellency. Really though, the surprise for me is that Autoglym Super Resin Polish, which was reformulated not so long ago, a few years back, and I never really explored it. I never thought it was that hydrophobic. This new formulation is very, very beady, and it actually advertises that somewhere on their website or maybe on the bottle. It's a very hydrophobic polish, actually. One of the most hydrophobic polishes I think I've seen now. So I think maybe Autoglym have tweaked the formula. Remember when they brought out UHD wax, they incorporated more hydrophobic technology into that. Maybe they've put a bit of that into the Super Resin Polish. It's nice, it makes it a more complete product. So that got 5 marks for repellency. So you should be building a picture of some of the characteristics of these products now from this testing. Next up, perhaps, is a more subjective one, which is overall user experience. Now, this is tough, and someone else could totally disagree with me. Now, the problem with my user experience with the Autoglym Paint Reviver is a few things. I lose the abrasive function with this product and the ability to solve problems through abrasive function. What do you mean? If there's anything on the glass, which glass tends to get bonded films, I can use a bit of super resin polish to wipe it off and get a clear finish. You're not supposed to, it's not a glass sealant. I can though, I've done it. If there's, after I've washed it and I don't want to clay the car, it's not covered in bonded contamination, but I'm polishing and there's a little bit of stubborn marks or water spot on there, the abrasive function shifts it off. If my headlights are a bit tired, I can whiz over them with super resin polish and get some good cut into the headlights, as well as pack it out with the resins and protect it. This isn't going to do that. It's just going to cover it in resins. That affects the product. You could argue that I'm delving into versatility here, and I am a little bit. I'm going to repeat myself. The other thing around user experience is I've come to the conclusion that the smell is quite overwhelming. It smells like a swimming pool with a certain aftershave in it, and when you're because you put it on generously and wipe it over the surface, you do tend to, in a garage, get quite a lot of this solvent around you as you're working around the car, and I find that smell a bit of a problem for me. I do like the fact that it doesn't require intense working like the abrasive one, so it's a bit easier to spread and it's loose to apply. But as user experience as well, I found that a couple of times on my red car that it's just needed a buff an hour later, and I've almost got this kind of secondary cure coming through. That requires more investigation because I didn't do full prep on the car, so it could be not playing with what's underneath there or something like that. And the side I did the Autoglym resin polish with, the abrasive can prep the surface and scrub off what's on there, whereas this can't. So this has a slightly higher risk of not being able to prep through its own application. You know, it's only got solvent in it which can help prep. So there's quite subtle things, but essentially that I think has the least favourite user experience. The next one is the Bilt Hamber cleanser polish. The emulsion quality of this might sound really technical, but when you get this out on the panel, it looks like a solvent with abrasive in it and some thinned resins that you can't easily detect. So it's not quite as well emulsified. This is like a creamy balm, and these American products, these solvent and water emulsions, are much sort of a nicer user experience than a raw solvent emulsion. That goes away after you've spread it, and you don't notice that anymore, and then it cures and then it buffs very nice, and your user experience, you suddenly start bonding with the product as you're wiping it and getting a good experience. That counters it a little bit. But the other thing as well, being a solvent, it's not a low aromatic solvent, so you get a solvent honk from it. And again, a bit like the Autoglym product, the more you're around that in a garage, that solvent experience can feel a bit old-fashioned and feel like it's getting up your nose a little bit. So you could argue this is a slightly more old-fashioned product. These are more old-fashioned, although that disguises itself more as a modern emulsion. Let's go on. Next, the Chemical Guys Wet Butter Wax. The emulsion of this, it's too thin for me. And because it doesn't, if it's got resins in it and abrasive functions and waxes, I think it benefits from a cure on the panel where it's supposed to be a wax on, wax off. When you try and wipe it off, because it's not drying, you don't get this nicer streak-free dry buff on it. You're having to lift a wetter product up, and your towel is getting wet emulsion in it, so as you have to flip towels more often. It's a small thing, and essentially if you put it on nice and thin and work it a bit and buff it with a nice thick cloth, it's okay. But that does affect it. I also noticed the emulsion sweats out a little bit of water from itself, so I wonder if they've lowered the emulsifiers in this updated version to try and make it more durable. But the less well the water emulsifies with the solvents, the more durable it's going to be, if you understand emulsifiers. But it's noticeable on the application. Apart from that though, the Chemical Guys scent, it's a strong banana scent that masks the solvent a little bit more, makes it a little bit more pleasant, and it's less solventy. Overall though, I think categorically the best user experience wiping these panels out over and using them on a car is the Poorboys Blackhole. Again, I'm not massive on smells, but there's no solvent honk at all. Just this really clean berry kind of smell that's hard to describe. Vaguely like a fresh bathroom with Ribena in it or something. Just a nice smell, doesn't get up your nose. The emulsion is perfectly balanced. It's not too wet and it's not too dry. It's perfect, this emulsion. This is too thin. This emulsion is perfect. When you spread it over the panel, it forms a really nice film. It's not difficult to scrub over there. And then you can work it just as they describe, and the emulsion starts drying and thinning until you start to see the panel. And then you go on to leave it to haze a bit. And when you wipe it, the buff on this is phenomenal. And it makes the car look good. And I've really struggled to fault the user experience of this product. It clearly is the best user experience, and it feels like the most modern, precise, well formulated experience. Definitely worthy of the 5 there. The others perhaps more subjective. I'm pretty comfortable with that I think the user experience of this and then this are the best 2, and then probably this and then these 2 somewhere, in my opinion. Next up, there's no marks for this, but it's very important for you to understand this information. Does it have abrasives in it? Because it gives you that versatility to improve paintwork permanently through abrasive function, and prep surfaces through abrasive function. Use abrasive function on other surfaces like gloss painted pillars, you know, the black pillars that are always that benefit from a good little scrub and glaze, and improve your headlights, and buff out water spots. If you go and you see a couple of water spots on your wing mirrors, you can buff them out while you're doing the car. So it's a very important positive to me. But of course, with that abrasive function, you might not want it, because it removes material from the car. So if you buffed with super resin polish 10,000 times, at some point, maybe you've got to go through the paintwork. Don't worry about that. They're so fine, and you're moving them so slowly by hand compared to a machine, which is going 10 to the dozen. You're not really removing much material, which is why you'll find if your car's heavily swirled, even as hard as you rub on them with these products, you won't take out heavy swirls. They're there for very, very slight improvement, but that abrasive function is useful. Autoglym SRP has it. Bilt Hamber cleanser fluid has it, and I think it has the most abrasive function. You can see it in the composition of the chemical when it starts to dry. You can feel it. I think this has a lot more abrasives in it. Yeah, and Chemical Guys wet butter wet wax has an abrasive function in it. You can feel it a little bit. What it is it aluminium oxides? What the format is of the silicates, I don't know. The other ones, Poorboys and Autoglym Reviver, to my knowledge, don't have any abrasive function, which could create a slight compromise. The H means that the brand are primarily telling you to use them by hand. They may on some videos or websites somewhere mention that they can be machine applicable. I couldn't find any evidence of that. Often the case, you can use them by machine, but you have to be careful because they are formulated primarily to be used by hand. What do I mean be careful? So say if you took any of the abrasive ones and put them on a rotary and blasted them, maybe you could still do buffer trails and do some damage. So they don't delve into that. They're formulated to be used by hand. The Poorboys one, though, advertises on its label you can apply it via hand or via machine. Again, because it doesn't have abrasive function, you could probably go bananas with it by machine. But you'd use it by machine to help give you a nice quick coverage and a thin layer, and work it a bit quicker, and it works well by machine. So just make note of that. It hasn't affected any particular points, but it does affect the versatility ratings. Next, versatility ratings. Whoa, made myself jump. Okay, stay serious. In first place, the super resin polish deserves to get the 5 marks for the versatility. It has abrasive function, it has protective characteristics, it has resins, it has solvents in it that can clean the paintwork. It does everything a true all-in-one does. It protects, it's hydrophobic, it's the most versatile product here without compromise. What are the compromises? Well, you're supposed to top it with a wax, it might be a compromise, but I've topped this with rapid ceramic spray. I want to ask Autoglym, I think that it would be really good in their facts of their website if they could just clarify if this can be topped with rapid ceramic spray and their water-based products, but I have, and it seems fine. Really important for me, that is, because this one is designed for those rapid applications, those water-based ones. Anyway, Autoglym definitely is worthy of the 5 there. The next one is Chemical Guys wet butter wax. This is again a true all-round product. Protection, abrasive function, can be used wet as well. because of the emulsion you can, because of the solvent function in it as well and the abrasive function, they do advertise that you can clear up paint with this. If you've got a bit of overspray on there, the solvent in it will soften it and the abrasives will help scrub it, and it does, because I had a bit of overspray. Very mild effect that is. That solvent can also help knock down little bits of rubber or tar on the film, but it can with these, they just don't advertise it. Worthy of a second place in versatility. Third, this is interesting, I'm going to give it to the Poorboys Blackhole. You could argue that perhaps that's generous because it doesn't have abrasive function, but the thing with this, it cleans the surface, it protects the surface, it can support waxes or sealants on top of it, it's safe on all these different surfaces, chromes and platings, and it can be used by machine, which is important. Why is it perhaps, could it be ranked lower in versatility? Lack of abrasive function and its colour requirements, although reality for me is I've used this on light coloured ones, and I'm not sure if this whole white and dark thing is just marketing or if it's very subtle chemistry. I'm going to say it's very subtle chemistry, and the black pigment in there is nothing to do with that subtle chemistry. I think it's probably more to do with the amount of fillers. Okay, next place, Bilt Hamber cleanser fluid. The biggest problem with this, and why I've put that in second last on versatility, is the only one that you would absolutely should top. The rest of them you don't need to, almost, because of the wax in them. This is a true primer, and that creates, for the layman's guy at home, the scenario where after going around and rubbing this all over the paintwork and letting it cure and buffing it all off, you really need to do that again. And lots of people at home in this mass market category might be, the idea of that might be too much for them. For me, it isn't. Also, if a glaze that needs topping is slick, that's great, but it's good to have that slickness in the final thing you put on top for subsequent wipe downs and washes of the car where you know it's the slickness. Whereas I think you almost bury that slickness if you put a wax on top of it. So I don't know, yeah, that's perhaps why they've edged them, but you could reverse that order. The Autoglym Reviver for me is the least versatile product because of its lack of abrasive function. It really is targeted for paintwork, really, or high gloss exterior surface finishes that have a lacquered finish, essentially. But you can, I think you could probably use this on single stage paintworks as well, but I don't know. According to them, it's a lacquered finish, and I think that's the best way to describe this product because it's a modern thing, but no abrasive function. And just, it's basically essentially like, it's almost like a liquid wax, but it's a liquid filler material. Yeah, most compromised. We go through and we add up all of the points, guys. The two products which picked up the least points are the Chemical Guys Butter Wet Wax and the Bilt Hamber Cleanser Fluid with 20 points. The product which then just pipped them by 1 point was the Autoglym Reviver. Then after that, we jump up a little bit in points and we do go to the two products which I feel are perhaps the better ones, the better overall packages in what they do, I think. The Poorboys Blackhole 26 points and the Autoglym Super Resin Polish picking up the win with a strong rating of 33 points. How's it been able to do that? Okay, well, through summarising everything I've just explained to you, this is a mechanical type of test with all sorts of flaws and considerations, but most of it you can see here. But I think Super Resin Polish is perhaps the best overall proposition that does everything out of all of these products. It's the cheapest. I'm less worried about that. My eyeballs tell me it's really good. I'm not worried about that, but it's been penalised. It's a really repellent finish. It's a durable, relatively durable thing. We'll talk about that in a second compared to the others under alkaline load. I've missed that, haven't I? I've missed durability. So let's just quickly zoom in on that. We washed them all with Surfex HD and gave it like a 1 minute dwell, wash off, repeated that about 10 times. And I saw good degradation of, good resistance to the alkalinity. It's not the same as putting them on a car and using them. Most of these products could get you around 3 months protection. How are they going to get you 3 months protection? You put them on the car properly, you let them cure out properly, you know, and you perhaps keep the car inside. You might use it a few times a week, and then you'd clean them with the brand's own products because they'll be optimized. You know, pH neutral car wash shampoo. If you're pre-washing, you're doubling the chemical load on it, which can cause a variable. If you're driving the car, you get more deg on the areas where the wind gushes over. Then you know, so you'll see deg on the sort of lower front parts of the car, and then these bits over here tend to show their protection better. All these variables, if they're garaged and you're using and washing them carefully, you could get 3 months out of them. If you're using them every day, washing them a bit more aggressively, driving in wetter conditions in the winter, you could get maybe, I don't know, 6 weeks out of them, maybe even four to 6 weeks at worst. None of them are durability monsters, but they are, the Autoglym one's actually reasonably impressive. So it's picked up 5 there. The user experience is good. It's really, you can see from all the 5s that it's been a strong thing. I'm struggling to think of any negatives, so I'm going to go through these little positives and negatives. It's a complete full AIO all in one with abrasive function. The only criticism I can come up with, it's much improved on the leaving the white residue as well, which I'm starting to notice over this old one. Like, I'm going to go and I might even do a cross comparison. This formula tweak is actually significant, and they've made this product a lot better, which they should do because they've got a reputation for this product. It's very widely sold. They've improved it. I could say that they could look at water-based emulsions and stuff and look at low aromatic solvents, which I don't think they're ever going to do. It's a minor thing that you can get a bit of solvent with. Apart from that, I'm struggling to criticise this beyond the cap always cakes up a bit, and it can sort of volcano out a bit of product sometimes when you take the cap off. That's about it. Autoglym Paint Reviver. Okay, the smell is a bit more of a problem for me. I think they might have put some scent in with it, and it smells like a swimming pool with Old Spice in it a little bit. I don't like the smell. I'm coming to the conclusion. No abrasive function, but that's a positive. No working. That should be a plus there. No hard working. It does darken off the panel well. I'm just coming to the conclusion that this paint reviver is not as versatile, not as affordable, not as repellent, not as durable, not as nice to work with. You might need to keep an eye out as a secondary buff. And I think that might be a better product. I think. I mean, Autoglym might disagree, I don't know, but I give my opinions on all of this. If I had to pin them down to which one is the better product, if you could only pick one, I reckon they would go with that as well. They've got some more of those I might explore. Over to the Bilt Hamber one. This has the issue with the smell, and it has the issue that it's the primer only. There is another issue I haven't mentioned, that in the winter, that in cold temperatures, the solvent mix hardens, and this needs heating up almost in like run the bottle under hot water to soften it and melt it all down, and then you can shake it up. In the summer, it goes all thin and loose. That's a slightly old-fashioned characteristic, so stability under exterior temperature. The positives are, yeah, the slickness on buff down is way ahead of all of these. It might technically be the best product in terms of abrasive function. It might be like technically a very good product, but there's just some signs of old-fashionedness with it, I think, with the emulsion, I think. What's next? Poorboys Blackhole, very good. Yeah, very good. Good on price. That good visually, man. That's a good product when you use this on your car. It's got massive wow factor. Very close between these two in layman's simple use. Poorboys Blackhole is highly regarded for its user experience and simply how well it works when you use it. Very few, I've never heard any complaints about this, and it's cheap. Its buff down slickness is incredible, but its protective slickness once it's set and all that isn't so high. So you could argue, actually, if you're going to criticise Poorboys Blackhole, the fact it doesn't have any abrasive function you could criticise. You could say that the actual materials after you've used it perhaps aren't market leading. The wax might be a little bit not as zingy and hydrophobic and wash off the panel a bit quicker than the Autoglym. Functionally, it might not be quite as good as the Autoglym, but the user experience is really high. I like the fact you can use it there. I like the fact it has no abrasives in it possibly, or no noticeable abrasive function that makes it a product you can just use without consideration, but you ain't going to be scrubbing off watermarks with it. In fact, I notice it's not particularly good at that, but generally okay. Yeah, no abrasive function, colour limitations, but it's a top performer, yeah, 26 marks reflects that. Chemical Guys Wet Butter Wax. Ooh, it's interesting this. I'm disappointed in the fact it's a thin emulsion. That affects me psychologically because I want the butter experience. That's a massive thing for me, but it hasn't factored into this test. What I think about this product is that the visible protective elements of it are quite disappointing, even by Chemical Guys standards. This is an old-fashioned product for Chemical Guys that's been around for a long time. They got all sorts of things and coatings and stuff which are probably better protection products than this. But it did satisfy me with the gloss. Visually it doesn't fill as well. I don't hold that against it, but it does still fill. It's more of a wax emulsion. The price is the price, and it's, you know, it's suffered because of that. I kind of like this. I kind of like this product. I feel, though, I really feel that the Autoglym product is much more demonstrably a better product. It can do everything this can do apart from the wet wipe, you know, the wet application, which I wouldn't use that for. And it's not a wax on, wax off, the Autoglym, but you could still you could go on and not wait as long and just buff it. I think the Autoglym product is a much more complete product at nearly half the price as well than this wet butter wax emulsion. However, I think I will keep this product on my shelf because I still love kind of using it. I love the idea of using it, and I still know it makes my car look really good. I like it. I'm so obsessive with all this stuff. I'd almost try and hunt out a bottle of the old butter wet wax emulsion because I have fond memories of it. I'm going to use this more and see if I can bond with it a little bit. It's a good product, but it is where it is in this particular test. There we go. I think I've probably covered everything. A double caveat that is unfair that that's in a 5-year-old bottle or whatever, and well, that's old as well, and that's probably 3 or 4 years old, so I don't know. But there is some unfairness with the age of these products. I could have used that one. That one's like 15 years old. Still works. But they haven't demonstrated any issues around expiry. Water-based siloxane stuff would, but more abrasive solvent and resins are more stable products that you can have on the shelf for years, which is another advantage with those. And even these ones don't seem to degrade so much. These products are good, man. They're good. I like them. I still like them. I went through a phase of thinking they weren't cool, they weren't useful. They cannot deliver you what full paint correction can deliver you, and that's where it's at, and that's where the professional side of this is at and always will be. But it's so much work machine polishing your cars all the time, and I like the cathartic kind of lazy afternoon in the garage, putting these on the car, and when they've got a good user experience, I like that. If I showed you the results of machine polishing with a single stage abrasive, the black panel, compared it to any of these glazes, the machine polishing will outperform them visually. And then you can go on to protect with something of your choice and get much more durable results. So machine polishing, degreasing, and then full dedicated sealant or protective product to your choice gets you more durability, more results, more improvement, but it's a lot more work. These make a lot of sense for me. Little spruce up products. People sort of say that it's like putting like dressings or makeup over the paint and then the benefits wash away. Yes, to a certain extent they do, but when there's so much good fun to apply and so easy and you don't need any tooling, they make a lot of sense. So they definitely work, man. So thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments if you like this one or not, and I'll see you soon on the Forensics Detailing channel. Bye for now. 44 minutes. Oh my God, the algorithm's going to hate me.
Holding on to what I knew, but the moment's gone. Where was I when